Okay.
First two questions.
First who? We gotta get to the other stuff. Though, first Phoenix. You're Phoenix. I'm Will. And we're here to bring on the questions.
Yes.
And first we gotta tell everybody where they can find us. Do you know where? You know the place? Where the links are?
Linktree.com/BOTQS.
That's right. And we're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and pretty much wherever else you get podcasts. Although I should probably start doing some of the odder ones out there, like TuneIn, Pandora.
We're on the more general where you listen to podcasts and find podcasts.
But there are people that use Pandora quite a bit. We're on Amazon Music.
Mm-hmm.
It's more have the podcast there.
My mother likes to use that.
Yeah, but she doesn't listen to podcasts ever.
No, she listens to music.
She would rather have snippets. Maybe that's what we should do. Oh boy. Bring on the questions. TikTok. Should we do it? And just put clips?
Maybe.
Okay. You know how to operate it?
Kind of, yeah.
Maybe you should then. There's a lot of other things. Anyway, you can also watch the podcast on YouTube.
Yeah.
That link is also on linktree.com/BOTQS.
All the
to find
links.
that. The dogs are going crazy. I don't know if that can be heard on the mics.
Probably not, but I'm kind of glad about that.
Yeah. All right. I hope you've got your Russian tongue on.
Ugh.
Or it's gonna. It's fine. It's fine if it sounds very American. I'm sure there's other podcasts that are very American who have done this historical figure.
Just a disclaimer, it's not really going to be, all of it's not really going to be correctly pronounced.
No.
Gonna have some American tongue.
Yep, for sure. It's gonna be fun to pronounce all the things that are happening, though. All right, you better stop with the preamble and tell us what question are we bringing in this episode, Phoenix?
Who was Rasputin?
Our first who, and you said that already.
Yes.
Rasputin. Oh, boy, he's something. He's a pill. He's a real pill.
I mean, there's a whole song about him.
Is there?
Yes.
What is it?
I'm pretty sure it's just called Rasputin.
Is it like a rap? Like, did you learn something about Rasputin in school? Or you just found it somewhere?
I mean, it's on Just Dance.
Okay. You can dance about Rasputin?
Yeah, there's a whole Rasputin dance.
He's somebody. There's also an epic rap battle with Rasputin.
Yeah, you showed me that. I showed you the song.
Yeah. That epic rap battle is hilarious. Grigory Yefimovich Rasputin.
Yes.
Remains one of history's most enigmatic and controversial figures, whose name is synonymous with the twilight years of the Russian Empire. From humble Siberian peasant to the inner circle of the Romanov dynasty, his life captivated and scandalized his contemporaries and continues to inspire fascination and debate. He is often depicted as a mystical healer, a debauched manipulator, or a dark force that hastened the fall of the monarchy. A central objective is to distinguish historical fact from the pervasive myths and legends that have long obscured the truth about Rasputin's life and legacy. You want me to take the next one? Because there's a whole lot of this is how you pronounce them in there.
You know what? I can take it because in my textbooks for social studies, I have had to pronounce some things.
All right.
Also, while it's on my mind, if you watch the movie Anastasia, it's on Disney Plus. Rasputin is the villain in that movie. And I'm pretty sure that Anastasia is part of the Romanov family.
I don't know. I really don't know
I
Anastasia.
think they're the Romanovs.
I don't know Anastasia's story. Maybe she will be another who. Yeah, we do.
Maybe.
And then we'll get more on how their lives cross, because going through the notes, Anastasia's only just mentioned with everything we have here.
But I recently watched the movie, so I kind of have more memory on it because I never watched it before.
Anastasia.
Yeah.
All right, you want to take that? Go for it.
Grigory Yefimovich Rasputin was born on January 21st, 1869, in the remote Siberian village of Pokrovskoye.
That was gonna be
Tobolsk. Governorate.
Yep.
Governorate, Russian Empire, now
Tyumen Oblast.
Tyumen Oblast, Russia. While some sources suggest alternative birth dates ranging from 1860 to 1873, 1869 is widely accepted.
It's like right in the middle. Maybe he was born in 1860, maybe he was born in 1873. Let's just pick 1869.
Sure. He hailed from a peasant family. His father,
Yefim Yakovlovich
Rasputin, 1842 to 1916. I don't even lived a long time.
Yeah. Pretty old for that era. What, 60, 74?
Yeah. Nice.
I think so.
Was a farmer and a church elder, and his mother was Anna?
Yeah, I'd say Anna.
Vasilevna. Yeah.
Vasilevna.
Rasputin. Yes, yeah. Rasputina. Maiden name
Barshukova.
1840 to 1906.
66. Not bad.
66.
Yes.
1840 to 1906.
Yes. 1840 to 1900 would be 60.
Oh, you were saying her age. I thought you were like saying 1966 is when she died. I was like, what?
126? That's crazy.
Yeah. Grigory was one of many children, but most of his siblings died in infancy or early childhood, making him the only surviving child for some time. The family name Rasputin itself carried a negative connotation in Russian, similar to ill-behaved or ill-aimed, or stemming from
Rasputi,
meaning crossroads, which some later asserted indicated a
dissolute
character. This pre-existing negative association with his surname likely contributed to and reinforced the public's willingness to believe later rumors of his
debauchery. And immoral behavior.
I'm trying to find it. I lost. And immoral behavior. It created a narrative convenience where his alleged actions align perfectly with the implied meaning of his name.
So it's almost like irony or serendipity, maybe. Rasputin has a negative connotation, ill-behaved, ill-aimed, and boy, did he live up to that. Do you know what debauchery and immoral behavior means?
Kind of immoral behavior, but not really debauchery.
Like public drunkenness and just like a rowdy kind of public figure. Yeah, and a ladies' man. He would go after many ladies.
It says that in the song.
There you go. Like most Siberian peasants of his time, Rasputin received very little formal education and remained largely illiterate well into his early adulthood, though he may have learned to read and write later at a monastery. Historical records regarding his youth are scarce, leading to a black hole of information about this period. This absence of verifiable data in his formative years became a fertile ground for the sensationalized image of Rasputin that would later dominate public perception and historical accounts. So people just make stuff up, like we don't know it, just make it up. It implies that much of what is known about his early transgressions, e.g., horse theft, severe crimes, is likely embellished or invented, serving to either demonize him or explain his later unruly behavior. So they just embellish stuff. They just like made up more stuff. Like they made it extra. It was bad, and then people talked about it, made it extra bad.
Like exaggerated.
Yeah, exactly.
Hyperbole, if you will.
And that's it. This dynamic underscores an important of critical source evaluation when studying Rasputin. Local archival records suggest a somewhat unruly youth, possibly involving drinking, small thefts, and disrespect for local authorities. One account mentions his arrest for theft at age 16, resulting in a commuted prison sentence to serve at Verkhoturai Monastery. Verkhoturai Monastery. That's what I'm going to go with. However, major crimes like horse theft, blasphemy, or bearing false witness later imputed him Major crimes like horse theft, blasphemy, or bearing false witness later imputed to him lack definitive evidence from this period.
In February 1887, at age 18, Rasputin married Praskovia
Fyodorovna,
Dubrovina, also known as Praskovia
Fyodorovna,
or
Paraskiva
Fyodorovna.
We having fun yet?
Sure. A peasant girl from Abalak.
That's how my American tongue pronounces it. Anyway.
The couple had 7 children, though only 3 survived to adulthood. Dmitri,
born.
That one I finally pronounced right. Born 1895. Maria, born 1898, and
Varvara. Sure.
Born 1900. Praskovia remained in
Pokrovskoye.
This is so hard.
Skip it. Pokrovskoye. And remained
devoted to him throughout his later travels and rise to prominence, raising their children while he became a wanderer.
Isn't that nice of him?
So nice.
Just punching out the kids, and just 3 of them survived. So I was like, I gotta go. This is crazy. See ya. Around 1897, after about a decade of marriage, Rasputin underwent a significant religious conversion experience, embarking on a pilgrimage that led him to the St. Nicholas Monastery at Verkhoturai, some 300 miles from his home village. During this period, he met and was profoundly humbled by a starets, an elder, named Makary, who lived a rugged, ascetic life. Rasputin later claimed Makary cured him of a severe sleep disorder and trained him in hypnotism and a vegetarian lifestyle, which included the use of certain weeds and drugs for spiritual transformation, akin to ancient shamanic rituals. There we go. Going to higher places. Rasputin stated he modeled himself after Makary. It is possible he learned to read and write during his time at Verkhoturai. though he later criticized monastic life and alleged homosexual practices among some monks. It is worth noting that some accounts suggest Rasputin's pilgrimage, a renewed religious interest in 1897, might have been motivated by a desire to, quote, escape punishment for his role in horse theft, or to, quote, avoid trouble following accusations of theft. This perspective implies that his spiritual awakening may have been, at least in part, a pragmatic decision or a strategic pivot to escape legal troubles and reinvent himself, hinting at the manipulative tendencies that would later define his interactions with the imperial family.
Following his time at the monastery, Rasputin became a
Stranick
wanderer or pilgrim, traveling extensively across Russia on foot, including pilgrimages to Kiev and Greece, and Jerusalem. He gained a reputation as a self-styled holy man, preacher, and healer, drawing followers to his intense charisma, hypnotic gaze, and alleged ability to heal the sick. Despite being described as a monk, he held no official position in the Russian Orthodox Church.
Kiev, Greece, and Jerusalem. Those are far apart. So he just wandered on foot for a long time.
I cannot do that.
Well, there's nothing else going on 130 years ago. Rasputin was introduced to the banned mystical sect of the Kalisti, flagellants, who reportedly had strong sexual content and exotic practices. He evolved a cynical and ruthless manipulative philosophy, famously stating that any, quote, any sin shall make me a holy man, unquote, believing that true salvation could only come after sin, and he made sure to sin a lot. That's weird thinking, but he did it. This adoption of redemption through sin philosophy provided a theological justification for his scandalous behavior, allowing him to maintain a veneer of spiritual authority while engaging in acts widely considered immoral. This explains how he could simultaneously be perceived as a holy man and a sex-crazed manipulator, and why the Orthodox Church was furious about his public and immoral behavior. He developed a small circle of followers, primarily family and local peasants, holding secret prayer meetings in his father's root cellar, which aroused suspicion and hostility from the village priest and other villagers, leading to accusations of blasphemy and Kalisti cult involvement. He was doing some fun stuff.
I'm glad I didn't have to read that paragraph. There's some fun words in there.
Like what? Scandalous? Sex-crazed manipulator?
Yeah. I didn't want to have to read those.
Any sin shall make me a holy man. No, dude, I don't think that's how it works. You don't just go out there and sin to be forgiven. No.
Not how this works.
No. I mean, every sin can be forgiven by God. That's what we're taught.
Yeah. But
that's what we're taught by the Bible. That doesn't mean go do the thing, go do the crime. It doesn't make you a holy man to sin and then be forgiven for the sin. What?
And you're just like exploiting the rules.
Right.
Like, you're taking this for granted, dude.
Right. But we're told there's no limit.
Might have to be a limit.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe he's just hanging out in purgatory right now. Go ahead.
Rasputin arrived in St. Petersburg, the Russian capital, in 1903, the year the airplane was invented.
No, very good.
I have memorized that.
Interesting. See, that's the kind of stuff that I want to associate with all this. Like, later on, 1916, that's the end of World War I. Russia's got his own stuff going on because of Rasputin, but World War I is going crazy in Europe, And then the Titanic is sailing in the middle of all that too.
1969, we landed on the moon.
Oh. That's like 50 years later. Slow down.
Well, there's 1969 somewhere for this.
Was there?
Pretty sure.
1969?
1869.
1869. Yeah, 100 years.
I knew I saw 69. I just figured out it was 18, not 19.
All right, he arrived at St. Petersburg, blah, 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 blah.
1903, initially soliciting money to build a church in his home village. His magnetic personality and unassuming appearance quickly attracted attention, drawing a loyal following among influential aristocrats and members of the Russian Orthodox Church. He gained valuable connections through letters of recommendation from local priests and was introduced to prominent church leaders such as Archimandrite Theophan, who was well connected in St. Petersburg society and later served as confessor to the imperial family. He also formed friendships with the members of the aristocracy, including the Black Princesses
Militza?
Militza and Anastasia of the
Montenegro.
Who were married to cousins of the Tsar Nicholas II, and were instrumental in introducing him to court circles. His appeal was enhanced by being a native Russian, unlike other foreign holy men, popular in St. Petersburg at the time.
So that's the connection him and Anastasia have is so he just got in with the aristocrats and was introduced to more aristocrats through them, through Anastasia and her sister, or I don't know if Militza was Anastasia's sister. We need to know more on this history. They were married to cousins of Tsar Nicholas II, so they were like in-laws of the Tsar. Sort of. No, they were just distant family. Sort of. Like they got the benefits from the family, but they weren't part of the family. Sort of the benefits. But the whole point of that was he's a Russian holy man. So the Russians are like, oh yeah, see, we don't need these foreign holy men coming in here from Europe. Now we have our own Russian holy man.
He's not really holy.
And he's pretty charismatic to boot, so we'll keep him around for a while. Take the next one, it's a short one.
Rasputin first met Tsar Nicholas II on November 1st, 1905, at the Peterhof Palace. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The Tsar recorded this event in his diary, noting they quote, made the acquaintance of a man of God, Gregory, from Tobolsk province, unquote. He later met
Tsarina. So, a lot of the political offices have gender.
Yeah.
For their, like, there's a Tsar, there's a Tsarina. And there was another one in there too, Rasputina. So his mom, the male version of their name is Rasputin, and the female version of it is Rasputina, I guess. Gender-based.
Yeah, gender-based words and names.
Yeah.
Like in German, like dear or D, as the, dear would be the for men, but D would be the for women.
And like in Spanish, L is male and la is female.
Yeah.
And words tend to end in O or A. O for male and A for female. Latino, Latina. Hey man, that's just how the world rolls.
That's just how other countries choose how to speak their language.
Yep. So he later met Tsarina
Alexandra and their children in October 1906. The introduction was facilitated by his aristocratic and clerical patrons who believed in the purity and naivety of faith found in common folk. A popular sentiment among the religious elite.
Yep, so he was just the aristocrats and the clericals kind of introduced him to more of the family. The primary reason for Rasputin's deep entanglement with the Romanovs was the incurable illness of their only son and heir. And I guess this is a child version of Tsarevich Alexei Nikolaevich, who suffered from hemophilia, a genetic disorder inherited from his grandmother, Britain's Queen Victoria. Wow, the whole Russian Orthodox and the Tsar Nicholases, there's a whole lot of ties to all kinds of stuff. The royal couple, particularly Tsarina Alexandra, was devastated and desperate, having exhausted medical options and seeking any form of guidance or cure. The imperial family's decision to keep Alexei's hemophilia a secret due to fears of showing weakness and worrying the nation about the future of the monarchy inadvertently created a vacuum of information. This secrecy meant that the public did not understand the depth of the Tsarina's desperation or the underlying reason for Rasputin's presence and influence. This amplified the perceived mystery and unchecked nature of his influence, making his presence seem more sinister and less justifiable to the public and the elite.
Rasputin began acting as a faith healer for Alexei in late 1906. And his apparent ability to alleviate Alexei's suffering, particularly during severe bleeding episodes, convinced Alexandra of his mystical powers. So manipulation.
There it is. There's his charisma. It's showing.
He's using it to manipulate. Historians suggest several possible explanations for his success, including calming the young prince, possibly through hypnosis, or advising against the administration of aspirin, a blood thinner that would have exacerbated Alexei's condition. Regardless of the true mechanism, Rasputin's perceived ability to ease Alexei's suffering secured him an unshakable position and unparalleled access within the royal household, making him an indispensable figure in the eyes of the desperate Tsarina. This dynamic highlights a critical point. The perception of mystical healing powers was far more impactful than any underlying medical reality. In an era of limited medical knowledge and profound desperation, the doctors
What? The
Romanovs were susceptible to believing in a man of God who offered hope where doctors failed. This reliance based on perceived miracles blinded them to the political ramifications of his presence and the scandals he generated, ultimately strengthening his position at court and making him untouchable in their eyes.
So he treated their son who was suffering, and Tsarina Alexandra was suffering because her child was suffering. Now this holy man comes out of nowhere and starts treating his condition, and it works. So they're like, oh, this guy's amazing. We have to keep him around. And Rasputin was just rubbing his hands.
Waiting to manipulate more ladies.
Yep. Now he's in a higher Russian position. He's more of a medical advisor, I think. Rasputin's influence at court grew significantly, and he became a political figure using his connections to secure appointments and promotions for his followers. His power reached an all-time high in 1915 when Tsar Nicholas II left St. Petersburg to personally oversee the Imperial Russian army during World War I, leaving Tsarina Alexandra in nominal control of the empire. In her husband's absence, Alexandra relied heavily on Rasputin as an advisor, and through her, he influenced major political decisions and government appointments.
I mean, he was the royal advisor.
At that point, he was pretty much, yes, the royal advisor, and she trusted him with her child's life, her life. So he had
empire?
Basically, like if he could save her kid, then he's the best thing in the whole wide world. And again, he's just twirling his mustaches and rubbing his palms together. Go ahead.
Despite
Influence? Rasputin's influence?
Rasputin's influence led to frequent wartime reorganizations of government, known as ministerial
leapfrog,
where competent officials were often replaced by his cronies or incompetent individuals. He leveraged his access to the Tsar and Tsarina to place his supporters in key government and church posts and to remove his enemies. This interference often had negative consequences, contributing to bureaucratic anarchy and weakening the government's effectiveness during a critical period.
So he was almost like a coup. Like he was slowly taking over by placing his trusted people in place in the government and the offices.
And getting rid of his not trusted people.
Right. People that didn't like him. He's slick, man. He's slick. He's got time to think.
He's charismatic and clever.
What else do you think he was doing while he was walking to Greece and back? He had a lot of time to think.
And talking to himself? That's still thinking.
Oh, yep. Figuring it all out. Despite presenting himself as a holy man, Rasputin's behavior away from court was scandalous, characterized by excessive drinking and affairs with women from all social backgrounds. Rumors of his escapades dated back to his time in Siberia. The most damaging rumors politically were those of an intimate affair with Tsarina Alexandra, which circulated widely despite a lack of evidence. There are also shocking claims of his inappropriateness with the Tsar's young daughters. Yikes. As World War I progressed, outlandish accounts expanded to include accusations of treason with Germany, such as plotting to undermine the war effort or starting a cholera epidemic. The press, newly unshackled, spread lurid tales, and public perception of his power and debauchery often outweighed his actual views or activities. So the public was making him more of a monster than he actually already was, somehow. Crazy.
So, he was charismatic and
he was slick.
The ladies.
The silver tongue. He was slick.
I don't think I'd want to meet him today.
No. If you look at the pictures, he's a rough-looking cat. But maybe that's what they were into back then. He was combed, but he was rough-looking.
I might just have to look up a picture of him later. Oh, now.
Go on.
Widespread.
I think so.
The widespread public perceptions of his power and rumors of his debauchery fatality.
debauchery fatally undermined
the authority of the monarchy. What the Russian people thought they knew about Rasputin had a greater influence on his reputation than actual views and activities. This indicates that Rasputin's actual political influence, while present, was less damaging than the perception of it. The lurid rumors, regardless of their truth, became a potent symbol of the Romanovs' perceived corruption, incompetence, and detachment from their people. This public perception, fueled by a relatively free press, eroded trust in the monarchy and legitimized revolutionary sentiment, making him a powerful scapegoat for Russia's woes.
There he is. Kind of scary looking, isn't he?
Quite rough.
Yep. That's one of the more famous pictures of him having his hand up and one across his belly.
If you want to, you could also go yourself and look up a picture while we look.
Yep, there he is. There's those pretty blue eyes.
Icy blue.
Those blue eyes will get you.
That pierce into your soul.
Yep.
I like it.
The well-cropped hair and the
odd bangs.
There he's looking a little more rough. That's probably after he was taking a poison.
It looks like it's the photos they take of you when you get arrested. I can't find them.
Mugshots.
Mugshot. It looks like a mugshot.
Mm-hmm.
He looks a bit rough.
He is a rough looking cat. I mean, that's him.
I mean, this was the
end of the 1800s.
Late 1800s, early 1900s. So.
Yep. His influence and scandalous behavior did not sit well with the Russian elite, the powerful Orthodox Church, and the ordinary people. Many in the royal circle suspected he manipulated the empress, and his role as an advisor or state matters sparked political turmoil. Like he was doing it on purpose, like he was whispering secrets. He was their political advisor, and they were like, I mean, he saved her son, so...
He was planting seeds into their minds, making them think it was their idea to do stuff.
Right. But the public saw this snake in the grass. They saw this monster, but the royal court wasn't doing anything about it. The public saw it, but they weren't doing anything about it. They wanted him to go away. And they thought everything was his fault. So he was the monster that the public didn't like, which is going to be a problem later. The monarchists, including the Dowager Empress, saw his influence as leading the dynasty to destruction. Alexandra's unwavering trust in Rasputin, her belief that he was her son's savior, and her refusal to abandon him despite scandalous reports shows a critical causal link. Her desperate maternal love and unshakable faith, combined with her isolation from court and distrust of official Russia, led her to ignore all warnings and advice. This personal devotion had catastrophic public consequences as it allowed Rasputin's influence to grow unchecked and made the monarchy appear manipulated and out of touch. By early 1916, murder plots against Rasputin were already afoot within the police department and Interior Ministry, reflecting the widespread desire to remove him. The police were like, this dude's gotta go. They couldn't arrest him. They wanted to kill him. In court, and not like court of law, but like royal court.
Yeah. Like, even police didn't like him. That's how bad he was.
Right, but the Tsarina was like, no, she saved my son. He's special. Go ahead.
By late 1916, discontented members of the aristocracy, along with elements of the church and government, conspired to eliminate Rasputin, believing his removal would save the monarchy and restore its reputation. Key conspirators include Prince Felix
Yusupov?
Yusupov.
I do suppose.
What?
I do suppose. Suppose?
Oh. One of Russia's wealthiest men and husband of the Tsar's niece, and Grand Duke Dmitry Pavlovich, the Tsar's first cousin. Other plotters included Vladimir
Prushkevich,
a right-wing politician, and Lieutenant Sergei
Sukhotin, yeah,
and Dr. Stanislaus Lazarov. Yusupov, who had lived a frivolous life, saw plotting Rasputin's death as an opportunity to reinvent himself as a patriot.
Yep. So Yusupov wanted to be the hero that saved Russia.
He wanted him dead so he could be like, yeah, I'm the hero.
I did it.
Now I take over.
I think he just wanted to be a hero. I don't know if he wanted to take over. Maybe. He definitely wanted some political power. Here we go. Go ahead.
I mean, that's what Rasputin was doing. He was like,
yeah,
I'm a hero. Sure. Now I take over.
Right. I mean, he was a slow game for Rasputin. Like, he did it slowly, and you have to build up the trust. You couldn't just do it all at once. You can just be a hero and be like, okay, now it's time. No, he saved the son, or treated the son, and then he slowly built up the trust, and then he got to a point where he could replace other officials with people he trusted. It was a slow build up to all of his power that he had over the Tsar and Tsarina.
I mean, you gotta have patience to do this.
Right. It's a slow game.
He had
the long game. Patience. Right. And Yusupov was just like, I'm gonna go kill him. Alright. Rasputin was lured to Yusupov's Moika Palace in St. Petersburg on the night of December 29th and 30th, so late night, 1916, under the pretense of meeting Yusupov's wife, Irina, who was absent. According to Yusupov's widely known memoirs published in 1928, this is kind of funny, Rasputin was served cakes and wine laced with a large amount of potassium cyanide, but astonishingly, he appeared unaffected by the poison. Frustrated, Yusupov then shot Rasputin at close range, striking him in the back. Rasputin collapsed and was presumed dead. However, Rasputin miraculously revived, attempted to flee the palace, and was pursued by the conspirators. He was shot again, possibly multiple times, beaten with a rubber club, and finally bound and thrown into the freezing Neva River. The dramatic accounts fueled the myth of his impossible-to-kill nature and supernatural resistance.
I would hate to have that happen to me.
Which one? To be shot a bunch of times, poisoned, then shot a bunch of times, and beat, and then tied and thrown in the river?
All of the above.
Or would you would hate to have been the guy who did all those things, or allegedly did all those things, and it didn't work?
I'd rather not be the guy who had the things happening.
Read the next part.
Rasputin's body was found in the icy Neva River a few days later on January 1st, 1917. Autopsy reports largely refute Yusupov's
sensationalized
account. The autopsy found no traces of poison in Rasputin's body and no water in his lungs, indicating he was likely dead before being thrown into the river. The autopsy concluded that Rasputin was shot 3 times with the fatal shot to the forehead. The claim of claw marks under the ice suggesting he was alive in the water and is also likely of the myth-making, contradicted by the autopsy. Rasputin's daughter, Maria, questioned Yusupov's account, stating her father disliked sweets and would not have eaten the cakes. Some theories even suggest British agents were involved in the murder, possibly firing the fatal shot.
So, not only did Yusupov want to be the hero, but he also, in his memoirs, wrote all these things about this man who could all but not be killed. So he was a hero that killed a monster. That's what he wanted to be known as. This guy, he eats these poison cakes, and he got shot a bunch of times, and we beat him up, and we finally threw him in the river. That's not what the autopsy said. And Maria, his daughter, is like, you saw how skinny he was. Dude's not eating cakes.
Not eating cakes, not eating sweets.
Cyanide will kill you basically instantly.
And the fact that it didn't kind of suggests that it wasn't so.
Right. Wasn't in the autopsy. Yusupov just wanted to be this crazy hero that killed this monster.
And it took a while to kill him.
But it didn't. He got shot a few times and they tossed him in the river. That was it. That was it.
No being with a rubber club.
No immune to poison. Rasputin was a guy. He wasn't this crazy witch that couldn't be killed by poison, couldn't be killed by a few gunshots. He was just a dude.
Yeah.
A manipulative guy.
Very charismatic, and clever, and manipulative.
The discrepancy between Yusupov's detailed, dramatic, and often contradicted account and the simpler autopsy findings highlights that the myth of Rasputin's impossible-to-kill nature was just a popular rumor, but was actively cultivated and exaggerated by his assassins themselves. This was primarily for self-aggrandizement and to create a more heroic narrative for their patriotic act. This deliberate myth-making immediately after his death contributed significantly to his enduring legend, overshadowing his historical facts and further sensationalizing Romanov decline. And I have this chart in here about the possible aspects of death, the conspirators' account of the aspect of the death, and then what the autopsy found. So, aspect of death. Poison. And what Yusupov's memoir said, consumed large amounts of cyanide-laced cakes and wine with no effect. The autopsy finding says no traces of poison found in the body. All right, go ahead, take the next one.
Aspect of death, gunshots. Yusupov's memoirs, shot multiple times, including a fatal shot, but still revived and attempted to escape. Autopsy, shot 3 times with a fatal shot to the forehead.
Aspect of death, beating. Yusupov's memoirs, beaten with a rubber club after being shot multiple times. Autopsy findings, evidence of severe beating. Okay, so they beat him up.
Possibly. Aspect of death, drowning. Yusupov's memoirs, bound and thrown into the Neva River, presumed to have drowned. Claw marks under ice suggest that he was alive. Autopsy, No water in lungs, indicating he was dead before entering the water.
Oh my. Aspect of death. Actual cause of death. Yusupov's memoirs. Combination of poison, gunshots, beating, and drowning. Autopsy findings. Fatal gunshot to the forehead. That would do it for anybody, even zombies. That's how you get rid of zombies.
Yeah. And just blast their brains.
They beat him. They shot him a few times, and then eventually they shot him in the forehead. Shot 3 times with a fatal shot to the forehead. They shot him twice, and then shot him once in the forehead. That's how I see that. And then they chucked him in the river. That was it.
Yeah.
That's how they got rid of old Rasputin.
Rasputin. It makes it sound like a pirate name.
Rasputin.
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 I'll take this next one.
Okay, cool.
The conspirators had hoped Rasputin's murder would stabilize the monarchy and restore its prestige. However, his death did not lead to any radical changes in the Tsar and Tsarina's politics, and it failed to restore stability. Instead, it intensified political turmoil and further weakened respect for the dynasty. The lack of formal investigation due to the status of the murderers further assaulted the monarchy's authority. The assassination, rather than being a decisive act that could avert a revolution, was a symptom of the monarchy's already advanced state of decay and the deep divisions within the elite. By removing Rasputin, the conspirators eliminated a convenient scapegoat, forcing the public and the Tsar to confront the underlying systemic problems of the regime, which remained unaddressed. Instead of strengthening the monarchy, the murder highlighted its internal weakness and the desperation of its supporters, inadvertently accelerating its collapse by removing a symbolic target and leaving the deeper issues exposed. His death removed the Tsar's last scapegoat, and ensuing chaos contributed directly to the Russian Revolution, which swept Nicholas II and his family from power just over a year later.
So there's no more, well, it's that guy's fault, it's that guy's fault, it's that guy's fault. Nope, he's gone. It's not his fault anymore for the things that are going on around here. We can see that now, that it wasn't his fault. There's something else going on, and the Russian Revolution began. While Rasputin did not single-handedly cause the Russian Revolution, his controversial position and the chaos surrounding his influence played a significant role in the growing unrest that led to the fall of the Romanov dynasty in 1917. His meddling contributed to the declining credibility of Tsar Nicholas II's regime and increased animosity from the aristocracy and political elites. He became a potent symbol of the corruption and decline of the monarchy, and his presence undermined the authority of the monarchy.
Some historians argue that his significance in pre-war Russia should not be exaggerated, and that his influence was often overstated by society gossip and his own drunken boasting. The Russian Revolution was driven by deeper systemic issues, including widespread poverty, food shortages, and the cost of war, and social disorganization, which existed independently of Rasputin. Rasputin's impact was more as an accelerant and a symbol rather than a fundamental cause. He exacerbated existing problems and provided a tangible target for public discontent. But the underlying conditions for revolution were already deeply entrenched. His death, by removing the symbolic target, did not resolve the systemic issues, thereby demonstrating the monarchy's fate was sealed by broader political forces, not solely by the presence of one's controversial figure. He was a highly visible symptom of a dying regime, not its singular disease.
Interesting, right? Rasputin remains a larger-than-life figure, inspiring immense myth, speculation, and fascination. He has been depicted in popular culture as everything from an evil sorcerer to an unfairly maligned outsider, a holy man, a charlatan, a sex-crazed manipulator, a prophet, and a villain. His story has been featured in numerous literary works, films, and music, including the popular Boney M song Rasputin. Is that the one?
Yeah.
Which reflects popular perceptions. There it is.
Yeah, it's called Rasputin.
Boney M. Is he like a kid rapper guy, or I don't know?
He was like, I don't know if it was like 70s or whatever.
Oh.
But it was older music.
Okay.
It looks like.
All right. I'll have to watch it again now that I'm got the story in my head.
The tune, like the beat and the not the lyrics, but the song part is pretty good. Like the beat is good.
Okay. But
you have to listen to the lyrics. The lyrics are crazy.
Rasputin.
Rasputin, lover of the Russian queen.
All right. I'll have to check it out. The rumors and legends about him, including his wartime plotting, alleged affair with Alexandra, and supernatural resistance, grew even more freely after his death. This highlights a meta-historical point. Rasputin's legacy is less about his factual actions and more about the powerful narrative constructed around him. The sensationalism fueled by his own ambiguous behavior, the Romanov secrecy, and the conspirators' self-serving accounts created a myth that transcended his actual life. This myth continues to shape popular understanding and cultural depictions, demonstrating how compelling narratives, even if exaggerated or false, can become more influential than historical accuracy in the collective memory. Whoa. So kind of like Mandela effects. The collective memory remembers it a different way.
You have to check out our last episode if you want to learn about Mandela effects.
Is that synchronicity? Do you know what synchronicity is? We should do an episode on synchronicity.
I don't really know what that is, but I'm kind of using my context clues as its secrets.
No. Synchronicity is like things lining up unintendedly, but they line up perfectly. We'll check it out. We'll see if we can make a whole episode of synchronicity. If we can't, we'll do other things with the synchronicity.
Like a short episode.
Could be.
Separate.
Maybe. 2 episodes a week? That's crazy. All right.
One short.
His figure became a canvas onto which the anxieties and prejudices of the time are projected, making him a timeless enigma.
Grigory Rasputin's life was a remarkable trajectory from an illiterate Siberian peasant to an influential figure at the heart of the Russian imperial court. His rise was inextricably linked to the Romanovs' desperate need to alleviate
Tsarevich
Alexei's hemophilia, a vulnerability he exploited with a blend of genuine charisma, perceived healing abilities, and cunning manipulation. While his personal life was marked by scandalous debauchery, his unique spiritual philosophy allowed him to reconcile these contradictions, further fueling his enigmatic public image.
Siberian
peasant
No.
to...
Well, I had something else in mind. Not Nikola Tesla was from Serbia, not Siberia. It's different. We'll do it at Nikola Tesla at some point. Rasputin's political influence, particularly during World War I, exacerbated the existing weaknesses of the Romanov regime, contributing to the ministerial leapfrog and alienating both the elite and the public. The pervasive rumors of his debauchery and alleged affair with the Tsarina fatally undermined the monarchy's legitimacy, making him a potent symbol of its decay. His dramatic assassination, intended to save the dynasty, ultimately failed, instead removing a convenient scapegoat and highlighting the deeper systemic issues that would soon lead to the Russian Revolution. Rasputin remains a complex historical figure, a man of God and a charlatan rolled into one, whose true impact is often overshadowed by the enduring and powerful myths that continue to define his place in history and popular culture. His life and legacy serve as a testament to the complexities of power, faith, and the unraveling of an empire, illustrating how mythology can take on a life of its own and become more important than the truth.
That's the moral of the story.
Larger than life. And he's got all these stories about him. These crazy charlatan things and witchcraft and can't poison it. And it's awesome. Is that what he wanted? This is the legacy. We're still talking about Rasputin 120 some years after his death. Wait,
about 200.
No. When did he die? 1916. Nope, that was the FM. No, it was the end of 1916. Yeah, it was December of 1916.
Yep.
December 29th, 30th, 1916. So right before 1917. So 110 years, 109 years, we're still talking about Rasputin after his death.
Grigory Yefimovich Rasputin.
Did you just invoke Rasputin? He's going to be in your dreams tonight, Phoenix.
No, I was saying his name as
You invoked his whole name.
I wasn't saying it in vain.
Are you calling out to him?
No.
All right. Our first Who. We did it.
Yeah. And there's many more to come.
That was lots of Who's.
So many Who's.
I'm afraid there's more NPC Who's in today's world.
We could go BC Who's.
Holy smokes. Could be. Like the Egyptian pharaohs.
Queen Hatshepsut.
Queen Hot Ship Soup.
Sure.
All right. Question brought.
Question answered. Time turn?
Yeah. We're just waiting now. I'm doing it on purpose now. A production of Wayward Things Network.